Welcome, everybody, to episode 11 of the Big Ben and Friends podcast. I am your host, Big Ben Ortmanns, and this week we're going to be getting to know one of my friends from the pro wrestling business, obviously, just a little bit better. Now, this gentleman here is, in my opinion, he's a bit of an anomaly. I mean, you're, 21, 22 years old, and you've probably had 21, and you've had more of a career than most wrestlers in their entire life have had careers and have done more than, I mean, shit, I aspire to have the career that Daniel Garcia's had, all the things that you've done for crying out loud. I mean, you're just absolutely one of the one of the most inspiring and awe-inspiring to watch as well. Hardest working young guys to be coming through the independent wrestling circuit and just wrestling in general. I don't know too many people who have the reputation and can back up everything that they have in that reputation, much to the chagrin of our guest here. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am very honored to introduce somebody that I'm actually looking forward to getting to know myself a little bit better here, Mr. Red Death, Daniel Garcia. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing all right, just played some basketball today, lifted some weights, about it, yeah.
So what are you up to during all of this downtime, seeing as how all of our schedules just got shot to shit?
I graduated college for one, finally.
Hell yeah. Congratulations.
Got my bachelor's degree. Thank you. I've been playing a lot of basketball. I've been working out a lot. I started to better my relationship with my friends because I finally have time to see them now. I'm not always traveling and stuff. So it's been good. It's been a good reset, taking some time to just focus on myself and not have to be so focused on wrestling.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that's been huge for me as well. And that's kind of something that I've been focusing on quite a bit, actually. Is just I've got all this time to reconnect with friends that maybe I haven't had the opportunity to connect with in a long time. And, it's a good opportunity to mend old fences and get reacquainted with those that you were once close with, for example, I got together with a friend of mine, last weekend just for a milkshake, for crying out loud. I hadn't seen her in a while, and it had been quite a bit since I'd seen her, so it was kind of cool just to get there and just catch up in the middle of wherever the hell that we met up.
Yeah, that's always the best, when you just can meet up with somebody and it's you didn't miss a beat. It's just the same old relationship that you guys had.
Yeah. And that's also another strange thing I'm finding too, is in the midst of all this chaos and in trying to figure out the positive of kind of losing all of our, our schedules, our wrestling, everything that we pretty much lived our lives based around, I'm trying to find the little silver linings. And those are the things that are, I'm starting to notice that are huge, just getting to know yourself a little bit better. Cause we don't get that opportunity because we're always having to be on, you know what I mean? So it's almost nice to have some off time.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this downtime has been a good blessing in disguise, It obviously stinks that we can't wrestle and be traveling and doing what we love, but I think a lot of us will be coming back a better version of ourselves.
I think so too. Have you, I don't exactly know what the, where you guys are at in Buffalo, but where are you guys at in regards to stages and what you can do and what you can't do training wise?
We're pretty, it's weird. Gyms aren't open, but bars are open. New York's a really weird state right now.
Really?
Yeah, I don't even think they're planning on opening gyms for a couple months, but you can go to a bar, you can go to a restaurant, you can go to a mall.
That is the strangest thing. Because here in Ontario, bars are still not open. They've just started to reopen restaurants and whatnot. And there's they just the stage 3 cities anyway, you're finally allowed to go indoors, but they have it very, very sectioned off, socially distanced, but they also are trying to steer people more towards the patios and stuff like that as well, and also trying to steer people towards takeout so they can get that going. Gyms literally just opened again, but I'm starting to think that it's kind of on a I haven't seen my payment go through for my gym membership that I was paying for, because I honestly don't know if I feel comfortable going back there yet. I've got weight equipment at my gym that I can go to now that I actually have we've been given the thumbs up to start going back into crossbody. So I'm going to start doing that way before I go back into like a public setting, just because I'm starting to find that a lot of things are getting rushed in certain areas, and it's causing us to go backwards. Like, I mean, look at the fucking MLB, for example.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what a goddamn mess that is. Like, I just saw today, like, and I don't know when I'm dropping this yet. So, like, for anybody wondering, it's 6:37 on a Friday, and today they canceled, I think, like 5 or 6 games, and just because more teams and more players are testing for COVID, and they just, on a 60-game season, how are you going to make all of these games up?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
Yeah. I really feel like nobody just has a good grasp on what's going on. Everyone's just kind of winging it, you know?
very much so. And it's weird because everybody seems to be an expert on everything right now, yet none of us actually know what the hell is going on.
Nobody.
It's a very, very strange time. I just realized, give me something rather. Just give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that my computer's plugged in so we don't lose this. My apologies for that. So, I guess I'm going to just start this off here, buddy, because we're going to kind of dive into things. And we're going to start this off the same way that I pretty much start every podcast off, which is because the whole point of me doing this is to try to get to know my friends a little bit better, whether it be wrestling, whether it be, MMA, whether it be like just whoever. I'm just trying to get some people on here that I genuinely like and have some respect for, and I want to get to know better. So, having said that, do you remember when the first time we actually met and kind of became like buddies really was?
I think the first time that we met had to have been that crossbody show with the snowstorm. I think that was my first time there, where like I was really late because we were driving in like feet of snow and the snow just kept piling up. I kept getting stuck. Luckily, I brought a guy with me who was able to push me out of the snow and stuff. Steve S. Yeah, that had to have been the first time we met though, right? Unless we met at like some like off like indie show in Ontario before.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that we probably met at like I think we met at Battle Arts at some point in time, but it was literally one of those like, hey, what's up kind of sort of deals.
Yeah.
And it was just real. It was quick. But yeah, the first time that we actually like met was I had brought you in for the January show for Crossbody, and January of this year. So we're recent buddies for anybody that's watching or paying attention to this, and I brought you in, and for this, because my entire locker room was literally, they wouldn't shut up about you, whether it was Albright, whether it was Fuerza, Alexia, Prince, like you name it, like all, and it's all the guys that whose opinions I very much value, in regards to any of that kind of stuff. And it kind of got to the point where I was just like, I almost needed to book you to get them just to stop bothering me about it. But I'd also heard good things. I'd seen your work. I was like, okay, let's see how this all fit in. But at the same time too, I was also a little nervous just because, I can be honest about this. It's not something that I like to delve into too much, but obviously there has been issues with me and, the owner of Smash, and it's not really so that wasn't really something that I was looking at for people that were working there, just being honest. So when I brought you in, I was a little nervous just to see how everything was going to go, because I just wasn't sure, because again, maybe my paranoia was getting the best of me. But when you got down, I was just like, oh my God, like this dude is literally everything that these guys have just said. And then when I got to chat with you, where I was just like, this kid's good in my books forever, is that we both have the one thing in common, and we're both fans of Wegmans.
Yes, the best. Can't beat it. Like every time I go into a Wegmans, I just feel like I'm at home. Like you can't beat Wegmans. I love it.
No, and for any Canadian watching this, which is probably most of my audience, Wegmans is this gift from God that he's just like, I'm going to put a bunch of these in the good old United States of America. And thankfully for us, we've got one, a couple in Buffalo, which is real easy to get to over the border, So it's only like a 2-hour drive each way. And it's one that I was making on like a quarterly basis just to load up, because for those who don't know, and if you don't know, shame on you, but America in regards to food, in regards to junk food, in regards to coffee creamer, in regards to pretty much everything except politics is way better than they're just so much
Accurate.
better than us.
Accurate.
So I would, me and Tid, the notorious TID, like we pretty much would make trips down there. Oh, and you guys got Dickie's barbecue, and that is something that I fucks with to the day that I die. I love me some Dickie's barbecue. That's part of my routine. So when I get across the border, I go Wegmans in Tonawanda. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then I shoot 20 minutes down the road to some Walmart superstore, which across the street has the Dickie's barbecue. Do you know where I'm talking about?
I'm not too familiar with Tonawanda. That's where like Kevin Bennett lives. That's about like a half hour away from me. So I'm not like super familiar with the Tonawanda area, but it sounds right.
Okay, so there's like this it's more towards like the Niagara border, because we get to Tonawanda and then we shoot back to the other way, and then we always do the same thing. It's like stop at Dickie's for lunch, hit up the Walmart to try to find Oreos and like whatever ridiculous coffee creamers that they got, because I'm just a sucker for those. Oh, and not that I'm a huge drinker, but the alcohol selection that you guys have down there and the pricing, straight up bullshit, man.
Is it?
So let me give you an example. Tid is a avid Pabst Blue Ribbon drinker. Loves him some PBR, okay? If you wanted to get a 2-4 of PBR, just regular cans, down here, you're probably, I think you're looking at about 45 to $50 Canadian.
Jeez.
Where in the States, in Walmart, you can get a 30-pack for $16.
I'm not too familiar. Like, I don't drink, so like I just go based on what my friends buy and stuff. I don't know what a good alcohol price is, you know.
I totally get that, and I guess I'm just blown away by everything that they got. But again, just the Wegmans thing is really what kind of to set me off there.
You guys have like I stopped there a couple times. It's called, I think, like Loblaws or something like that. That place is pretty good. It's like,
yeah, we got Loblaws, but I mean
Canadian kind of like Wegmans stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. Like you can go there, like get the hot bar, get some salmon. You know, that's what I did.
You see, it's not bad for like if you need to get some hot food, Loblaws, but it's not fucking Wegmans. You know,
it's not Wegmans.
Like,
that's
like
bad.
Wegmans it's like a everything in one store. Like it's literally got everything. Yeah, Loblaws is just it's a wannabe Wegmans. But the reality is pretty much every grocery store is a wannabe Wegmans at this point. So the fuck you gonna do, right? But then that night, you came down in a snowstorm. You brought your friend with you, Eric, and was it Eric, or did Eric come down the second time?
Eric came the second time. I brought Sebastian Braun.
That's right. Sorry, Sebastian. Yeah, and he was a super nice dude too, and a very big guy. So probably a good hand to have when driving in the snow and needing a hand getting the hell out.
Yeah, had to push me up a hill at one point in the snow.
Oh shit! But you wrestled Mark Wheeler on your first night.
Yeah.
And you guys, and that was obviously a really strange night, just because snowstorm galore. Like it was a fucking absolute shit show, and we got a fraction of what we normally draw as far as crowd goes, and it was a really rough night for me financially. But as a show, we all as a team just kind of took that as like they're already here, so we got to get them back, and let's go out and fucking tear the house down. And that's exactly what you did. Like you didn't let the fact that there was a lack of crowd stop you guys from anything. It was just balls to the wall, and your attitude was awesome. And then what I remember after that was you asked very, very politely if you could leave to get back in time so you could watch McGregor versus Cerrone.
Yeah, I remember that a lot. Like I rarely ask to leave shows early, but I mean that was just the time. It was McGregor's return. I got to go watch it, and I made it back driving through a snowstorm to watch a 45-second fight.
And didn't you get back like literally just in time, if I remember correctly? Because I was trying to message you like the entire time, and I think he's like, "I just got back." That fight's over.
Yeah, I got back like I forget what the co-main was, but I got back like right at the end of the co-main. I think it might have been like a women's fight, maybe Holly. Right. I would say. And then the McGregor fight was on, and it was over in 45 seconds.
Yeah, that was a fast one. That was definitely the first time I'd ever seen shoulder strikes end a fight before.
Yeah, well, probably to that extent. Like John Jones does it a lot, but that was the first time I've seen shoulder strikes like mess the dude up, like break his nose.
Yeah. Now, I'm actually really curious now that we're talking about this. I mean, because you are obviously you've got a background in some shit. So we've never actually sat down and discussed this. Like, so what actually is your background? Like, I mean,
My only background I really have is just living in South Buffalo, New York. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, like I don't have any like official training or anything, but like
get out of here because you
no.
you're quite the you're quite the technical wrestler, but you're an efficient grappler as well, and like your strikes are actually oddly technical for somebody who doesn't have much training. So now you're pissing me.
Well, I mean, like the grappling, like I'm blessed with like Brandon Thurston and Mikey every night are my trainers in Buffalo. Like Brandon Thurston was a amateur wrestler, so he taught me some stuff, and Mikey like knows some catch, so like he kind of taught me a little bit of catch, but like yeah, everything else was just taught on the
Wow.
block, you know.
Because you seem to really embrace. That's the one thing I've kind of gotten from your style is that you really embrace the. It's the best way to put this is it's almost like a sparring session. Like you really embrace that style. So that's why I'm very like. So is that something that you guys do a lot in training? Is a lot of like spar live drilling or?
Yeah, like there was a period of time where like this was a terrible idea that we had, but like we would have like shooter Tuesday at the gyms, and like every Tuesday it's just like get in the circle and you're gonna wrestle your butt off until you either give up or until somebody stops it. And it was like it ended up terrible. Like people always got mad at each other and people ended up taking it too far. So it was a short-lived stint of shooter Tuesday.
Yeah.
But that's something that we had to go through for a little bit.
You know what? And here's the thing: I don't get mad at that stuff, but I also understand why it doesn't really have its place. The one thing that I've personally found that kind of gives you a very similar result, but without the massive ego blows, or at least so much of them, is just shark tanking people. So then that way, everybody kind of understand. Like, do you know what I mean when I say shark tanking? By the way.
What do you mean?
So what a shark tank is, for example. So let's just say you've got something big coming up. You want to train for some WWE extra work coming up because you know damn well that on Tuesdays, I don't know how it is anymore because they don't do the back-to-back days anymore. But I know that Tuesdays at SmackDown they would always say, "Hey, 5 minutes, grab a guy, go." Right. And you would do your little tryout match. So let's just say, for example, you're like, I need to get good at that. I want to make sure that I can call. I want to make sure that my wind is good. What I would do is I would take probably say 5 or 6 guys and I would say, we're all like, I'm staying in here the whole time and each of you owe me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's my job and it's your job as well. When you see me start to slack, your job is to push me. Your job is to make sure, like, if you see me starting to gas up, like, you better get the fuck on me and you better make me fight back because I got to be able to survive because, as you know, it's like how much you've done quite a few extra work, right?
Yeah, I've done like 2 rounds, like
Okay.
two stints.
And did you ever, I'm assuming that you did like some of those Tuesday afternoon matches?
No, we have the worst luck in Buffalo. Like I never got to do like one of like the tryout matches. Like I think the first time I was there, I did like a 3-day like stint with them. It was like a pay-per-view, then Raw, then SmackDown.
Same.
And it's just like John Cone like wasn't there to deal with us, so like we couldn't do the practice matches. And the next time I did it, like they just didn't let us. So it was like no. The second time I went, it was where all the wrestlers got stranded in Abu Dhabi. So they're way more focused on that than seeing a bunch of indie wrestlers try to wrestle.
That
Rightfully
sounds
so.
about right. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the reason I ask is like, did they even see any of your work before they put you in? Because you did a match, and I'm trying to remember for the life of me what it was. Was it 205 Live that you did?
Yeah, it was with Gulak.
Oh shit. That I'm assuming they didn't give you much time. It was probably just a
Yeah, not at all. It was just kind of like 3 moves and done.
But if I remember correctly, like he embraced the fact that you were like good and like you guys actually like wrestled.
No, no, no.
No? Okay. Well, explain
Nah.
that experience then. Cause like I'm actually curious. So like because how did they come to you with that, like, hey, we're gonna give you this opportunity before it even like before they even watched you wrestle?
Adam Pierce was he's the agent for 205 Live.
Mhm.
And him and like Pepper know each other, and like Drew Gulak is friends with Pepper, and like Brody Lee was with WWE at the time, and he was kind of in with like all the Buffalo guys because he's in the Western New York area. So I had some pretty good like recommendations going for me at the time,
That
and
makes
that's
sense.
how I was able to do it. And like Gulak is cool. Like we still like communicate somewhat on like social media and stuff. So he's a good guy. He
Yeah,
like he beat me up pretty bad, but
but I guess that's kind of the gig though, right?
yeah, like I knew what I signed up for. Like I figured if there's any time for me to like ever get hurt, like this is probably the time, you know? Put it
Yeah,
all out there.
absolutely. No, the reason why I bring that up is just because um, the one match that I did, because I was kind of in the weird spot where, the first time I did it was the 3-day stint, and then the Tuesday of my first time we did the tryout matches,
Mhm.
and I made the mistake of, first of all, I I got there late because me and the other person that I was driving with, because it was the third town, and there was a gigantic accident like on the way that was, and like it fucked everything up. I was like an hour late getting to the building, and as soon as I got there, like I'm like shitting bricks because I'm late to the fucking WWE. And then I
Yeah.
get there and I just see one of the other extras. It might have even been Spider Nate Webb, actually, now that I think about it. He's walking to the ring, and I see he's got his boots on, and I'm like, Nate, what's going on? He's like, matches, get gear on, and then head to the ring. And I'm like, oh shit, okay. So as I go to get my gear on, I'm like, which gear do they mean? Like, do they mean like my wrestling gear or like just workout gear? I got no fucking clue.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought like I just went with workout gear because I'm like, I don't want to
Mhm.
be a fucking mark if I show up to the ring in my gear. If they told me to get in my workout gear, I figured it would have been worse the other way. Turned out I was fucking dead wrong. Everybody shows up in their gear, and I'm just like, I'm in like MMA shorts and a fucking Rancid t-shirt, and I'm like, shit, fucked up.
Yeah.
So I just remember when they said, all right, first 2 in, like we just need 2 people. I teach my students, don't, if someone is above you and they're like teaching you something, don't even, and they're like, hey, I want to show you something. Don't even let them finish the question. Just get in the fucking ring. You know what I mean? I hate watching people stand around going like, who wants to get in? Just get the fuck in there, you know? Um, so that's what I did. And then as I'm looking around, I'm like, I could kind of see that everybody already had partners in mind, and I guess I was left out of the equation. So I'm looking around. I'm like, who's gonna hop in and work with me? And nobody wanted to. And I was like, fuck. And it was weird. So then there was a gentleman there who was a bit older, and he hopped in. And as soon as he hopped in, I kind of went in with a strategy where I was like, hopefully, I kind of get one of the younger guys, and I'm like, all I was gonna do was lock up and just say, "What's your finish?" Cool. I'm going to take the shit out of it, and I'm going to make you look great. I got the rest of the match. That was my strategy. But as soon as I got in there and I saw that this older guy was in there, my strategy went out the window because I'm like, I can't call on the older guy
Yeah.
in this. So all of a sudden, I'm like, oh shit, what's my new strategy? And then all of a sudden, everything hit me like a fucking like a machine gun of just like torpedoes. All of a sudden, the fear kicked in of like, oh shit, what do I do now? And then all of a sudden, I look over at the ref, and then the ref's just like, you ready to go? And I'm like, I can't say no. And then I look at, and it was one of those weird things where like I looked at the turnbuckle pads, and then I saw the logo, and I was like, oh shit. And then for some reason, it started to get me nervous. And then I kind of started just to do like the slow turn, and then all of a sudden, you see the SmackDown logo on the fucking Titantron, and you're just like, oh god, this isn't a good time to be doing this right now. And then you keep turning, and then there's just all the boys,
Mhm.
and you're just like, oh no. And then as soon as we locked up and we kind of started doing our thing, I knew I was in a world of shit, and that there's nothing that I could do to make this better. So much so that when he called the finish, I was blown away when he called the finish, and I was trying to recall a new finish. And as I'm recalling it, the referee, as he's counting, because the guy had me roll him up for the finish.
Huh.
I'm trying to recall something new real quick, and as the ref is counting 3, he looks at me and mouths, "I'm sorry," and then hits the 3. So it was the worst match of my entire life. I rolled over, and where you would think you're supposed to hop up and celebrate that you got a win, I sunk to my ass and stuck my head in my hands, and I was so ashamed. And it was like, it was the worst feeling in the world. But the reason why I bring that up is just because there's no amount of training that can prepare you for that, like, initial punch of anxiety, I think. And I'm sure that you probably had to have felt the same thing when you were doing yours.
No, I'm like,
Really?
no, I didn't. I'm very calm under pressure. I don't really let a lot of things like get to me. Like, I know this might sound like I'm lying. I'm trying to like sound cool, but like any big stage I'm on, like I'm just like, it's whatever. Like, it's just a ring. It's just like training. If I mess up and if I get blackballed from wrestling, I mess up and I get blackballed from wrestling. Like, that's the mentality I go into every match with. I'm like, the worst that could happen, like, as long as I don't die or kill anybody, like, that's the worst that could happen. Anything else is gonna be fine. I'll work through anything else.
I really like that attitude. And I wish that I had that attitude when I started, just because I wasn't allowed to have that attitude when I started, actually. Because when you different times, you're allowed a lot more creativity, and you're allowed a lot more these days getting into the business than perhaps you were when I got into it. But I got to
Yeah.
tell you, I absolutely love that attitude, because breaking into the business the way I did, it becomes a real tough cookie to crack, to try to get rid of that mentality, just because it was kind of bred into me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's awesome, dude. It's funny because we've already gotten into this, and I had so many other questions before we got into that, but I'm glad that we steered it that way. So,
Yeah, me too.
are you still in contact with these guys at all? Like, what's your status there?
Yeah, like I've talked to them like a little bit, and like I did Evolve, which is like kind of connect to there, I guess, but Evolve just got bought by WWE, so I don't know how good that connect is anymore. Yeah, but I mean, like, there's been conversations of me and like the people there, and conversations of me and people elsewhere, and I'm just kind of taking my time, gonna try to see what's best for me personally, and I'm not really sure what that is yet.
I think that's a great idea, especially the way with the landscape right now. I mean, Christ, uh, you did your last set of WWE work probably what, a year ago?
Um, a little bit less than a year ago, I think.
Less than a year, something like 10 months. Yeah, about 10 months or so, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was the fall of last year, maybe. I think that's when all the Saudi stuff happened.
And just the difference in the landscape of not just the world, but the way the wrestling business is right now is so different. And the opportunities that are available to you are so much different that
Yeah.
I was going to ask like what your end game was, but I don't even think that that's a fair question right now.
Yeah, like I really don't have like an end game in wrestling right now. Like, I used to be really like when I first started, like 1-2 years in, I was like really focused on like, oh, I want to get signed here. I want to get signed here. I want to do this. I want to do that. But then I just kind of like realized like having these crazy goals like right now is kind of taking me away from like the present moment, and it's taking me away from enjoying all the things I could be enjoying right now. Like, I do love indie wrestling. Like, it's great. Like, and when I'm happy doing it, that's when I feel like I'm at my best. And I feel like when I'm so focused on like WWE and AEW and Ring of Honor, I feel like that's when I'm not happy doing it. And so I feel like for a while, like I just need to like stay on my path and like just be happy with what I'm doing and take everything in, take in every road trip, take in every like indie booking with 50 people in the crowd. Like, as long as I'm enjoying that stuff, I know that the success will come eventually.
100%. Like, you could not have nailed that more than you did. That was actually, I was literally just about to drop that piece of advice for you. It's just like, if anything right now, like that is the best thing that you can do is don't focus on that stuff, because that stuff's there. They're looking right now. Like, that's the crazy thing, is they're in a position where they're looking back this way as opposed to the other way around. You know what I mean? Like, thanks AEW, and thanks Impact, I guess, as well, just because with the moves that everybody's making right now, that's really making it these promoters that like fucking be on the tip of their toes. So like, you've got to be constantly looking for that next big thing, because that's what this business thrives on right now. It doesn't, it's again, like, so much different from when I was a kid. Like, it relied on star driven power when I was younger. And here we are. It's a 100% youth based business at this point.
Yep.
And I've always found personally with me that my biggest successes and most satisfying accomplishments, I guess you could say, is when I'm focused on absolutely nothing than what's in front of me and making sure that that's what's best.
Mm-hmm.
And enjoying that, and enjoying the people that are helping me create all that stuff. And because when you're focused on the task at hand, it becomes the best thing that you can possibly make it with, and you absorb everything around it. You just leave so much more fulfilled, and you're not just like using it as a tool to get to the next thing. You're actually taking everything in.
Exactly. And like, if you hear any, like, say like a rapper or like a sports star or something, they always talk about how like the climb to the top is, it's like the best part, you know, like, and we don't even realize that, like, right now we're in the midst of that climb right now. And I would hate to like miss out on all these great things like while I'm climbing to where I finally, if I ever reach it to the top, like, I want to be able to look back and say that I enjoyed everything that I did.
Yeah. And I guess that it's kind of funny you say that, because right before we hopped in to do this, this is something that Daniel and I have been trying to do for a little while, but our schedule, we're busy brothers. And it was literally, he got a hold of me about an hour ago and was like, hey, you want a podcast tonight? And we're doing this. So normally I prepare a little bit more for these, but I was trying to do like some rush preparation once I knew that we were actually doing this. And I'm reading this article that said that you wanted to, in an ideal world, skip the indies and just get to the show. So has your mindset changed on that?
Yeah, it's definitely changed. Like, I feel like for a while, like, Leo Rush was like one of my biggest inspirations. I was like, oh, it's just a dude who did the indies for 2 years and then got signed to WWE. But like, I'm sure looking back, he regrets that decision greatly. I'm sure he really wishes he spent much more time on the indies and then was able to pick his spot, especially with like AEW coming up in that time. Ring of Honor kind of like losing relevancy, then gaining it again. And Impact being such a viable option now. I think like a lot of people who were kind of trying to like skip the indies or rush through the indies, I think they're looking back and wishing that they didn't do that. And I feel like I was so focused on, oh, I want to get signed to WWE. Like, I would really like to get signed to Ring of Honor, to where I was missing out on a lot of things. Like, I was in locker rooms, I probably wasn't like the easiest, like the funnest person to be around at times, because I was so focused on like these goals that I had since I was a kid, when I really should have just been focusing on like the task in front of me and the people around me.
100%, man. And you've got some amazing people around you as well.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing that I'm very, very much blown away by. And that's actually a discussion that I've had with Pepper when you guys kind of first started with the Grapplers Anonymous thing. It was kind of just starting to pick its legs up. You guys essentially ended up doing what my entire goal for Crossbody kind of originally was when it started. Like, I wanted that to be an MMA training camp for pro wrestlers. I wanted it to be a team. Like, I wanted like not just students, like, because I obviously wanted our students, but I wanted to try to get some of like the most unique wrestlers with their different skill sets to be able to get together, and for all of us to just sit in a room and just say, you're the best at this, you're the best at this, you're the best at this, I'm the best at this. Now let's toss all of this into a melting pot. Give me everything you got. I'll give you everything I got. Let's give everybody everything we got. And let's just be the best fucking team that you can possibly imagine and have absolutely zero strengths. And that is essentially what Pepper's done with you guys, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Grapplers, it was started by Mikey Every Night, a guy, like an indie wrestler in Buffalo. And I think he started the gym because he saw like how bad the Buffalo wrestling scene was, and he thought to himself like, oh, like why is wrestling so bad here? And then he thought, well, because they have nowhere to train, they have nowhere to sharpen their skills. A lot of these people are only getting training like once a month for 45 minutes before like between the time the ring gets set up and before the bell rings at the indie show. So like he said, yeah, there needs to be a consistent spot where people can train. So our gym was originally based on like just experienced wrestlers coming and like sharpening their skills, but then it eventually turned into new students coming and new students like just basically taking over the indie scene in Buffalo.
So so Grapplers, like, so because the guys that are there that obviously that stick out is you, Puff, Kevin Bennett, and Blackwood. And so the four of you guys did not start training there, correct?
I did. Kevin Bennett didn't. Puff didn't, and Kevin Blackwood like essentially did. I think he had like 1 day of pro wrestling training in like Wisconsin or something like that, and then he moved back to Buffalo, and like he was basically trained from the ground up at Buffalo. And Puff was he had some training at this other place in Buffalo, but then like when he came to Grapplers, he started like actually getting good. But Kevin Bennett was like training with Brandon Thurston and taking seminars with Pepper Parks like way before any of us even thought about wrestling. And he had a ring that like he had like an actual wrestling ring in his backyard. So like
Bennett
the local like local Buffalo indie wrestlers would like go to his house and like train him in exchange for ring time. It was like a whole transaction.
That's I guess that's a good way to get some solid free training.
Yeah, right.
I mean, not free. I mean, obviously the ring costs money. Was the ring any good?
I'm not sure. I never went there. This was like before I even like started wrestling. I think they just took it down. I want to say 2 years ago they finally got rid of the ring.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah.
So, I guess I'm very curious about what you guys did for training, because obviously what you guys did made you guys a very, very tight team. So, like, was it just the training, or is it more? You guys are family, essentially, you know, like you guys have become this real tight knit group. So what was the catalyst for all of that? Was it just the same passion for the business?
Yeah, I think it's definitely that, but Grapplers and Buffalo wrestling as a whole kind of has like a really good it's kind of like a next man up mentality, you know? Like when Kevin Blackwood first started wrestling, Kevin Bennett was kind of like the young guy in Buffalo who everyone knew like, oh, this guy's up next. He's going to be the next good person to come out of Buffalo. So Kevin Bennett was in that position. Like Kevin Blackwood starts training and Kevin Bennett acknowledges, oh, he's in this position now. Like, he's the new cool, like up and comer, like really good wrestler guy. And then I come into that position. And then I noticed it was Puff. So it's kind of like a never ending cycle of like, okay, this guy's next up. This guy's next up. This guy's next up. And then like all the good people who we just think are next up, we all end up like just embracing each other and like inviting them to like come in car rides with us and like, oh, come to this show with us. Let's get your face in here, go here. And I think that's probably the main reason why like the Buffalo scene is so good, just because it's like never ending of new young people coming in.
And that's huge. I mean, and having not just having those talented guys, but having those talented guys support one another is huge.
Yeah, because it like we could easily
jealousy is
like,
very easy when you're young.
Exactly. It could be easy for Kevin Blackwood to be like, oh, like Daniel Garcia is kind of good. I don't want him to take my spotlight. Let me bury him and let me not take him to shows so he can't steal any of my opportunities. It could have been easy for me to do that to Puff, but luckily we all saw like as a whole, we're greater than individuals. So we just ended up all
100%.
together and embracing that we're all getting better.
And that's the thing, man. You're stronger with numbers, right?
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
Now, I guess to kind of tie this back or to go back just a little bit, like I am kind of curious as to why you started training, because obviously, like, you were a wrestling fan growing up. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm always curious as to what was the thing that made you decide, like, I'm gonna go from being just somebody who watches this, and I'm going to be that knucklehead that actually crosses the line, and I'm going to go and throw my body at the earth for a living, like, essentially.
Yeah, I think the match that had that influence on me was ESW, Empire State Wrestling. It's a local promotion in Buffalo. They started bringing like indie guys, and they had Johnny Gargano versus Tony Nese, and that was a match that was like insane. I loved it. I was watching it. I like watched it live with my mom, and it's like still one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. And like just watching that, I was like, man, like these are two dudes who are smaller than me, like tearing down this fire hall in front of 400 people. And then I kind of thought to myself, maybe there's something I can actually do. And then I ended up like getting in contact with Mikey, who runs the gym. And then I started training, like probably like 2 years after that.
So how old were you when you started training?
18.
18. So
Yeah.
I always like to ask this as well, just because I always find that this is a huge character builder, and I'm just kind of curious as to what it was for you, because everybody, when you start training, has an obstacle, whether it be mental, physical, whatever. You know, everybody hits that first like major fucking roadblock where you're just like, God damn it, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. But then you just get through it, and then you move on, and you're just like, all right, whatever. So like, what was your first like real roadblock in regards to learning the business and getting to where you're at?
Like a really hard roadblock for me, like my gym, it's very like militaristic in its training. Like before you even start training, you have to take a tryout, which is based on like your physical ability. You have to like get through this like very strenuous like physical combination of like calisthenics and carrying heavy bags up a flight of stairs. Like it's a really hard physical test. Just make sure that you're ready and like physically able to be in a ring without dying or killing anybody else. So you have to get through that first of all. And then obviously like you do the things like rolls, learn how to bump, that kind of stuff. But the first thing that was like really hard for me was learning arm drags. Like at my gym, you have to like if we have like a list of moves that you have to learn, and like you can't move on to the next one until you get that one down. So like I was stuck on arm drags for a bit, and like I remember one night I just kept trying them. I just couldn't get it, and I ended up like hurting my trainer. And then I went home and I was like, man, like this is awful. Like I don't like this at all. Like I want to quit. I think that was like the first big obstacle that I had, arm
Yeah.
drags. Weirdly enough, yeah.
And then just I did just eventually one day everything just kind of snapped and you clicked in?
I think so. I think I just ended up throwing some crazy Ricky the Dragon Steamboat arm drags, you know?
As silly as it sounds, I've always found as a coach that like you kind of have to show people who can't do arm drags, like, okay, this is Ricky Steamboat. And now I have to preface that you will eventually, if you get good, be able to look like this. But this is what you have to, in your head, think that you're fucking doing. Otherwise, it's just, you're just going to meh and hurt somebody for sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, 100%. So then you got through that roadblock, obviously. So then you're how long was it after you started training that you had like your first match?
I was kind of like thrown into my first match. One of my trainers was supposed to be on this like it's kind of like a bad like local indie. He was supposed to be on this show where he was supposed to wrestle this dude who's like not good. I think he's untrained. I don't know if he actually has any training. And he felt like very uncomfortable wrestling him. But I was there and he was like, okay, this guy has like 2 to 3 weeks of training. I feel more safe wrestling him than I wrestle this guy. So my trainer like carried me through like a 5-minute match, like 3 weeks into training. And yeah, that was my first wrestling match. Got thrown into a kind of a one-on-one situation with like on an hour's notice, and we made it work.
And did you did you keep training a little bit before you had a second match, or did you kind of just like, all right, well, it is what it is, and let's just kind of roll with it?
I trained a lot more after that match. Like I'd already like completed training at that time. Like I was having like practice matches at the gym. Like I was done with like learning all the moves and like learning like the curriculum that we have, and I was already on to like practice matches. So, but I continued training after that with like practice matches and stuff like that. Like I didn't just stop training because I had a match. But then like it was probably like a month or two before I had my second one.
Well, that's not too bad, I guess. So then what was your first like aha moment then? So because you kind of got rushed into this shit, right? Like, and
Yeah.
very young, mind you. But again, one of the biggest things I'm starting to pick up from you is that you do seem calm under pressure. So like, what was your first moment where you were just like, oh shit, like I don't have to just have somebody carry me through this. Like I can do this.
I don't know if I've ever really had like an aha moment, to be honest, but I think just because Grapplers Anonymous is such like a strict and like hard-nosed mentality gym, I think that kind of stuff was just like ingrained in me. Like I was having 3 practice matches a night against people of all different levels of experience, like people who've been wrestling for 10 years, people who've been wrestling for 2, people who've been wrestling for the same amount as me. So like I was able to like have all these different outlooks of being led through a match, about leading somebody through a match, about like kind of going through a match like together where there really is no leader. I think I was really blessed with those opportunities to be able to have so many different experience levels. So to where when I was given the opportunity on a show to like wrestle somebody where they have like less of the same experience as me, I'm able to hold my own and call it.
Yeah, well, and I guess it doesn't hurt when you've kind of got like a murderer's row of dudes
Exactly.
in there.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
It's just iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah.
So now speaking of iron, one thing that I really like to ask everybody who's been coming on here to do this is I love to ask and talk about like what you do for like your actual training and like your workouts and your diet and all that stuff. And obviously like I'll start to break those questions down a little bit more, but I'm curious as to what you're doing right now during the pandemic, because obviously there's no gym, like you don't really have your typical setup. So what are you doing for workouts during all of this at the moment?
Luckily, I have like some weights in my basement. Like I have a bench and like a bar and like dumbbells and stuff that we just had in the basement for years. That like I think my mom was actually going to get rid of them like a couple months before like the quarantine started. Luckily, she didn't, because I don't know what I'd be doing without them. But yeah. So like I lift weights all the time in the basement. But I think quarantine, it helped me like find other ways to work out. You know what I mean? Like going for runs. Like I rediscovered my love for running. Like jump roping. I really like jump roping now. Like I got like a tire and a sledgehammer, and I've been hitting in my backyard. So like I have like all these different ways now to where I can like improve my body. That's not just like lifting weights.
Yeah, flipping tires is going to improve your explosiveness fucking so much, especially
Yeah.
with the size of that tire that I saw you got. Because I actually saw some video clip today of you training with somebody where you were like kind of pushing it back and forth and getting them to do burpees in between sets. And it's like, shit, that's not bad. And it dawned on me, I was like, man, when you guys like genuinely really learn how to fuck with that tire, like you guys are going to cause a lot of damage in a good way. But that's sweet though. So how does that differ, I guess, from what you would typically do in the gym if you were actually in the gym, for example? Like what would you normally do there?
In the gym, like I would just basically do like basic like weight training, like
Are
men's
you a
physique.
one body part kind of a day guy, or do you hit the full body? Is it just
I was like my body has improved like so much since the quarantine, to be honest. I feel like I'm in like the best shape of my life. Like for a while I was just like, oh, today is like shoulder day. Today is chest day. But now I'm like, I just love doing like full body all the time. Like I love getting my body to like move in different ways. And I love like compound movements and like using like all of my body for like one workout. That's what I
Yes.
love now.
When I took a break from pro wrestling in 2009 and was at the Adrenaline Training Center, which is a mixed martial arts gym in London, and was there for about 5 or 6 years or something. It's maybe longer than that. Fuck, I don't even remember. It was a long time now. I was getting ready for a kickboxing fight, like it's just on a smoker show, and it was my first fight, and I was petrified, but I had a lot of weight to lose. And I remember I was getting ready for the fight, and I was doing some weights in the weight area, and I was essentially lifting like a bodybuilder. Like I was doing like some bicep curls or whatever. I think it was bicep curls that when I got interrupted. Somebody had come up to me who ended up being like my strength and conditioning coach afterwards, but comes up to me and he's just like, Ben, what are you doing? Like, I'm working out. Just like, sorta. He's like, why are you doing that? Like, doing what? Like, are you actually asking why I'm lifting weights? What the fuck is wrong with you? And he's just like, no. Not why are you lifting weights? Why are you doing what you're doing? You're training like a bodybuilder. I'm like, oh, okay. Is that not good? He's like, what are you training for? I'm like, for a fight. And he's just like, are you planning on picking somebody up in your fight and fucking curling them? No. He's like, okay, well, let me ask you a question. He's like, are you planning on picking them up and bench pressing them? No. He's like, well, are you planning on hooking them up to a cable and doing tricep pull downs with them? Like, no. He's like, then why aren't you working out with your full body? When you're training, when you're fighting, you're using everything you've got. So when you're working out, why aren't you working out using everything you got? I'm like, fuck. Man, it make me feel like an asshole. Like that makes a lot of sense.
It's very rare in like anything that you do physical that you're just using like one part of your body. You know what I mean? Like even when you're throwing, say like you're throwing like a football, you're using your whole body. You're not just using like your shoulder and your arm. Like it's very, very rare that you do anything physical that you're just using like one singular particular part of your body.
Yeah. I've learned over time, if I could tell anybody if they needed to work on one thing to make sure that they had a solid base, explosive hips. Work on getting explosive hips. If you can get your hips to explode, which also include your legs, obviously, because that's all the one area. If you can get yourself a set of explosive hips, you are going to win most battles of everything. Because that's where most power, that's where most everything is generated from. Whether it's punches get generated from the feet all the way up to your hands, you know, but your power starts at your feet, you know, like, and everything gets generated. And especially with wrestling as well, even on an arm drag, you would think an arm drag is with your arm. It's hip, baby. It is a lot of hip and being able to do that stuff, you know, like that's our core. That's our center. That's where we do all of our work from. So if you could build that sumbitch up, you're going to have a lot easier time doing all this stuff. So the exercises that you were telling me that you're doing, I think is fucking perfect for you right now.
Yeah, I agree. And like wrestling is such a weird thing where it's like, you still have to try to be like aesthetically pleasing while like having like a really good functional body, which can be a hard balance to find sometimes, but I think I'm finally starting to find it.
Or he could just be like RJ City and he says, I'm trying to look functional, but not be functional.
I think he's nailing that perfect.
He really is. So obviously with training and whatnot, the most important part of all of that is your diet. So what's your diet like? Like, take me through a day of, like, do you have a set diet or you kind of just watch what you eat? Like, what do you do?
I don't have like a super set diet, to be honest. Like I eat like relatively pretty clean. Like I eat a lot of like chicken and rice. I usually have like like I'll make like a big like container of food for the week. So like in the morning, like these past couple weeks I've been eating, I'll wake up, I'll do some stretching or like jump rope to get my blood flowing. And then I'll eat like cottage cheese with like fruit. And I'll eat like a peanut butter and jelly on like a English muffin or something like that. It's just like something light, like easy to digest, just for a little bit of like,
Energy.
yeah, just for some energy in the morning. And then like soon after that, like I'll like lift weights or something like that. Then after that, I'll eat something a little bit, something like a little bit heavier, like some chicken or some rice, like chicken and rice, stuff like that. Some vegetables too. And then like I still live with my mom, so like whatever
That's
she's
huge.
cooking for dinner. Yeah,
That's huge.
exactly. Whatever she's cooking for dinner, I'm eating it. And yeah, I'm not super particular on what I eat because like I burn a lot of calories. Like I run like 5 miles a day, like plus lifting weights, plus playing basketball. So like I can afford to like sneak in like a slice of pizza here and there, you know?
I'm starting to find how crazy it is that we actually do a lot of the same workouts during quarantine, just because running is it's like my go-to thing right now.
Yeah.
Not only do you want to know why I've refound my love for running is because I just bought the unlimited Spotify membership. So it's kind of nice to just find some sweet punk rock like playlists and just like, all right, let's find some new shit and just
Locked
go.
in. Yeah.
Gosh, it's the best. And the funny thing is, you're gonna laugh your ass off at this because, and I'm only bringing this up just because I know you're gonna fucking laugh at me. But I recently just discovered how good Kendrick Lamar is.
Jeez.
So yeah, I'm a little late to
Wow.
the party, but it's funny because like when I'm going for my runs, goddamn, when when he hits in my playlist, dude, that's like a fucking mushroom in Super Mario Brothers, brother.
I feel that.
God
Yeah, like
damn.
I love running again. Like for a while, I kind of like stopped it because it gets so cold in Buffalo. It's so hard to get motivated to go out and run. But when it's nice out and you really don't have anything to do because you're quarantined, like it's nice to just like take your shirt off, work on your tan, go for a run. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
It's a
I'm almost under like I'm almost at a sub 6 minute mile, so I'm really proud of that. Almost at a mile under 6 minutes. That's a pretty big deal for me.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. So when you said that you run 5 miles, do you try to like get yourself under a certain amount of time? Because like obviously you're not hitting 6 minute miles for every
No.
mile.
Yeah, I try to get under like 8 for my average mile time. I try to get like under 8, which is like pretty good for like 5 miles.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm happy with
Absolutely.
that.
That's really good. I always tell people too, like especially when you first starting out, because if anybody's watching this and you're trying to figure out how to just start. That's literally it. There's nothing to it but to just do it. And the biggest advice I always try to tell people is download the Nike Run app. Because the Nike Run app will, when you hit start, it'll track your time and it'll track your distance. So never worry about time for the first while. Just get the distance and get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that way, for people that are just starting, for example, you hit your goal. It might take you fucking 45 minutes to hit 5 kilometers, for example. Right now, in retrospect, is that good? Not to somebody like me or maybe to Daniel, but to somebody that started, 45 minutes is better than not knowing at all. Because then when you try that shit again the next day and you like run as much as you can and then you walk it and then you get a little bit more and then you walk it. And then all of a sudden that next day you see your 45 drop down to say 41. You just hit a new goal. Not even one that you set for yourself. You're just like, fuck, bam, I just accomplished something new today. I was better than yesterday. And that's the biggest thing that I could tell everybody is just be better than you were yesterday. Right?
Yeah, that's great advice. I feel like something that helped me a lot is like I realize you have to set achievable goals for yourself, because if you set a goal that's like way too high for yourself and you don't achieve it, you feel let down. Like what happens if your friend says you're going to do something and you don't do it? Like you start to develop like a little distrust for them. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if it's anything, even if like the night before you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to wake up at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and you don't wake up at 8 a.m., like you're going to develop a distrust and resentment for yourself in your head. So like, I think you have to set achievable goals for yourself, one. And if you set an unachievable goal for yourself, you better hit it, or else you're going to like not be happy with yourself for it, you know?
Yeah. And because that's the biggest thing is like, we don't want to fail ourselves, but, and a lot of people feel like they do fail themselves, because I know a lot of people that give up on themselves, and they're putting in so much fucking effort that
Mm-hmm.
they're just not doing it wisely. They just don't know exactly how to go about doing it properly, for example, because that's the thing, is you could be that person who's sitting there just working their fucking ass off, or so you think, not realizing you just need to be guided correctly, so then that way the work that you're doing can actually show the results. Because a lot of people, I know people that think that they're supposed to get skinnier from switching to like low carb bread, for example, and it's just, you've just got to be able to sit down with people. And again, for anybody watching this, if this is something that you're just wanting to do, and you're just wanting to get on track, you're just wanting to start. I think I lost it. Oh, there we go. There's Daniel.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, that's all good. But if you're just trying to start, I know that for me, like whenever I was younger and I would go into a gym, I would look at all these big guys and I would be so like intimidated by them. And then one day I just kind of decided I'm not going to be scared of them anymore. I just want to ask. So I went up to one big guy when I was younger and I was like, "Excuse me, sir." And he's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "The fuck do you eat?" And he knew what I meant. Like he got the question, because he clearly knew that I was trying to get information to be like him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that has any knowledge of what they're doing will genuinely want to help you if you actually ask.
Mm-hmm.
So my advice to anybody that wants to start, if you don't know how, just ask somebody that you know knows how. And I guarantee you, even if it's 2 to 5 minutes of their time, they'll give it to you, right?
Yeah, ask. I mean, like, I'm no fitness expert, but if any like fans or anything are listening to this, curious about anything, like my DMs are open. I'm sure your DMs are open.
Absolutely. Hit us up and we'll tell you all about those socials here as soon as we get to the end. And we're actually going to get to the rapid fire question here. So we're getting towards there. We're getting in the third quarter here. So I'm going to ask you a series of 10 questions here, pal. So it's just one of those deals where you know how rapid fire questions work. You just say the first thing that comes to your head. If you want to explain, go ahead. You don't have to, though. All right.
Okay.
All right. So what is your favorite match that you've been a part of so far? Nailed them already.
Me versus John Silver at Beyond Uncharted Territory.
Okay. Now, which Uncharted Territory was that? Because for anybody watching this who has independentwrestling.tv, go to it. And which show is that?
Season 2, episode 13, maybe. I don't know. Like
we're gonna look into this, and I'm gonna put this in the description down below, where I'll tell you guys where to go and watch
season 2.
Because now I want to go watch this shit, and I probably will once I'm waiting for all this to render afterwards. So, now I know that this is probably going to be an easy question for you. Who's not on TV right now who should be on TV?
Me.
Other than you?
Kevin Bennett.
Okay. Who's your favorite band?
Oh wait, can I? And Brent Banks. Shout out Brent Banks.
Oh, obviously, let's give love to Brent Banks for sure. That dude's so goddamn good. It's
so good,
scary, isn't it?
So
who's your favorite band?
Can I do artist or do I gotta do band?
Shit, yeah. It's funny because RJ asked me the same question. He's like, "Can I?" And I'm like, "Okay, just your favorite music provider."
My favorite music provider, like right now in 2020, is Griselda. Shout out Buffalo. Benny the Butcher, West Side Gun, Conway the Machine. Shout out them.
All right. Who is your favorite sports team?
Miami Heat.
Okay. I didn't see that one coming. I thought it was gonna be Buffalo somebody.
Oh.
Miami Heat. All right.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite opponent thus far?
Kevin Blackwood.
What's
He's my
the
favorite person to wrestle.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the biggest goal that you've set for yourself that you've accomplished?
Evolve. Wrestling for Evolve.
And what's the next goal on your list that you need to accomplish and that you know that you will?
Getting signed to a major contract, I think, will happen very soon. But if it doesn't happen, I'm still happy. you know.
No, totally. So again, I think that this is going to be a pretty easy question for you. Who are, say, 5 or so up and coming names that come to your head that, you know, like not, like I'm talking young guys, you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
not your Blackwoods or your Bennetts or Puff or anything. Cause obviously like we know about them. We've talked about them, but
Yeah.
give me 5 up and comers that maybe people don't know, for example, that people should at least watch out for.
In Buffalo, are we doing? Or anywhere?
Anywhere that comes to your head that sticks out.
Alec Price is a pretty good dude coming out of the New England area. He trained with like a bunch of dudes from Limitless. Him, geez, I'm so I'm so terrible. Like they're not that young, but like Bear Country are pretty up and coming guys. Like Christian Casanova. Slade is pretty new in wrestling. He's very good. His name's Slade. He trains at Creative Pro. He's an insane man, but I really like him. He's really good.
Okay.
Megabyte Ronnie. He's from Buffalo.
Jack dude, I'm seeing a lot of him.
Yes. National ranked competitive eater, hot dog eating contest, but also a good professional wrestler in crazy shape.
Was
Really
this the
good
guy that just did Hot Wings, the Hot Wings show against Cody?
Yes, that's
okay.
it.
All right.
Yeah. Buffalo guy. Vinny Moon is really good, doesn't get enough credit. Eric Kubiak, he's not necessarily there yet, but he's starting to develop the tools and get the tools necessary to be able to be a great professional wrestler. He's been working out with me here every week.
He was just about to start doing my showcase series shows as COVID happened. Like I think that he was booked on the last one that we did, but then something work came up and then we've been stuck ever since.
Yeah. He's someone who like he's so hungry and he's so like willing to like the weekend that everything got canceled, he was supposed to go on like this crazy loop with me. I think it was like Ottawa on Friday, Maine on Saturday, and then like maybe Destiny and Mississauga on Sunday. And then like the next weekend, I think we were supposed to go to like Indiana for I can't remember what the show was called, but we were supposed to be in Indiana and then a show back in Buffalo, then like New Jersey the next day. So like he was supposed to go on these like 2 crazy loops with me, and he was like so ready, but then COVID happened. But he's someone who's been like, since quarantine started, he's been like working out with me every single week. He's been working out at these like 2 dudes in Buffalo who are wrestlers named the Fairnaccis. Like crazy shape, like power, like deadlift, like 700 pounds. He's been working out with them every week. So like he's hungry, and I think once we can start training again and shows start again, he's gonna put a lot of people on notice.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting him back down here once everything gets to normal, whatever the fuck normal is going to be. But
yeah, and he's going to be a ball boy at the U.S. Open, like the big tennis tournament. He's a ball boy there on ESPN. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's a ball boy.
That's such a I didn't see that one coming. That was that's an odd one to throw out there, but that's kind of neat though. That's pretty sweet. What's your proudest moment outside of the ring so far?
I want to say graduating college, like that's up there, but besides that, I really think it might be just being able to maintain really good relationships with my friends and family while having such a busy schedule, while going to school, while working. I think it's that.
And I would applaud that because again, I keep saying this, but you're so goddamn young. And the fact that you're able to handle all this and have these wits about you is so fucking impressive, man. So I'm very, very impressed. So the last question in the old rapid fire section here is, what's the best piece of advice that you can give somebody that wants to do what you do?
The best advice that I could give is to be disciplined. I've had discipline instilled in me since I was a little kid. My mom disciplined me whenever I did anything wrong, making sure I stayed out of trouble, making sure when I did get into trouble that I recognized my mistakes and was able to improve myself off of it. Because I feel like everyone puts so much focus on, oh, you need to be motivated if you want to succeed in something. Like you need this motivation. But the truth about motivation is like it has a very short shelf life. You know what I mean? You're not always going to be motivated. So that's why it's important to be disciplined. So when you're not motivated, you can still go to the gym and put in all this work. You can still eat clean. You can still go make this 12-hour drive even when you don't want to. So, yeah, definitely. It's have discipline. That's the best advice I can give you. Be a good person. Work hard, which is hand in hand with discipline. And then also, outside wrestling, invest in Bitcoin.
Jesus, fucking left-hand turn, boy. I was like, yeah, Daniel Garcia, you're fucking nailing it. Wait, what? Where did you just go? No, dude,
I'm a proud Bitcoin investor.
Are you really?
Yeah.
How much you've invested in that shit?
I own like an 11th of a Satosh, so like a tenth of a Bitcoin.
Okay. How's the turnaround been on you? Because like I know that, for example, and this is one thing I learned in my little crash course. You and I have one thing in common. We're both avid listeners of Sam Roberts. So
yes.
I know that Sam Roberts has had a very, very difficult time with Bitcoin. So what made you decide to want to get into this?
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin it's frustrating, man. Like, I'm up probably about, I think 30% from where I bought in. So I'm doing pretty good. Shit. But, like I wanted to buy like right before the halving. So the halving is like half of the amount of Bitcoins are put in circulation. So it makes it a more finite asset. So I wanted to buy before then, and I did, which I was very happy about. But yeah, like Bitcoin, like one day it's down like $40 and the next day you're up $100 and the next, like, it's a crazy like roller coaster. It's not for the faint of heart. Like I like stocks too. Like I invest in stocks, but like if say you go on like a Robinhood app, which is like a big stock app, if you look at like, I don't know, say like Ford Motors is something I own a share in. And then if you look at Bitcoin, like Ford doesn't even change day to day, but Bitcoin changes by the second. Like Bitcoin is so hard, but I do think it's the future, and I do think my investment will pay off one day. As crazy as I may sound talking about it on Twitter all the time, retweeting these crazy cryptocurrency accounts, I do believe it will pay off.
Are you a supporter of Ben Funky Askren?
I do like Ben Askren.
Do you watch his Twitter? Like his Twitter is literally roasting people half the time and then just telling everybody to go fucking buy Bitcoin the other
about
half.
Cryptocurrency. Yeah, he just put me on to Ethereum, which is cryptocurrency that's up right now. I think when that drops a little bit, I'm going to invest a little bit in that.
Man, that is an insane world. Hey, kudos to you for getting involved, man. Because
a lot of people don't know that stuff about me. Like I'm kind of like dorky. Like I like investing. Like I'm really into like financial stuff.
I guess this kind of begs the question: what the hell did you take in school that you graduated?
Communication. So like, yeah, nothing to really do with financials, but like I never want to have to work like a real job like when I'm older. So I guess I'm just like, if wrestling doesn't work out, maybe I can
up, man.
Yeah, maybe I can set myself up and be able to have this like residual income where I don't have to work, but I can also be making money in my sleep.
My man's about this JBL life, and I'm fucking stoked about it. Just clothesline some motherfuckers and then just make all the money in stocks. I love it. All right, brother. So to the final question I always have for these podcasts is because, again, like the whole point of this is to try to get to know my friends a little bit better. And wow, did I get to know a lot about you today. That was fucking so dope. And I got to do this again. I feel like we could probably do another 90 minutes just on fucking Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Would love to do something like that one day because I like learning about shit that I know nothing about. So, but again, the whole point is to try to get to know my buddies a little bit better. And I've been the one that's been asking all the questions. So I always like to ask if there's anything that you want to know about me. If you'd be the first person to be like, nope. And this is when we wrap the show up, ladies and gentlemen. Fuck this guy.
Will you ever go back to fighting, do you think?
Like real fighting or like
real fighting?
God damn it. I'm not going to lie to you, brother. The thought of getting back for a kickboxing fight is in my head every fucking day at this point.
Yeah.
Do I want to? Yeah. Do I think that I should?
I figure.
Because I know what my concussion card is at the moment, and putting myself in that position to go and keep putting stamps on it maybe isn't the smartest idea when there's not going to be any money involved, but fuck, man, do I want to. I think what it is right now that what I'm craving is just to get back and even to do some sparring. I feel like that's the one thing that I miss the most is I genuinely miss being able to like, because I used to spar sometimes once a week, sometimes 3 times a week. I just genuinely loved it because especially when you got sparring partners who know what they're doing and they know you, you can go in there and you can beat the piss out of one another 3 days a week and still be okay, you know?
Yeah.
And man, I loved that just because especially when you get sharp and you really start to find your groove, especially with kickboxing, man, there's just this, I don't want to say this like cockiness that comes over you, but there's just this like overwhelming feeling of just being able to walk around the streets and just be like, couldn't be more okay right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if somebody had a bad day and was just like, I'm gonna fuck with that guy, I feel really good about what's about to happen. You know what I mean? Like
that's why I carry weapons, so I can have that feeling.
Hey man, Tid's a Vegas boy, and if you ever find him walking around without a knife in his pocket, then I would be happy to give you whatever money I've got in my wallet, because that is a thing that does not exist.
Yep. And I got one more harder question for you.
Let's hear it.
Out of like your kind of like core group that you have, like Brendon, or Holden,
yeah.
where's Alexia, Wheeler, who would you trust the most to, like, if you had a kid, to watch your kid for a week? Weird question.
To watch my kid, Alexia.
Yeah.
Alexia.
That's what I would say too.
Because I literally had to roll down the Rolodex there, because as soon as you said trust, my immediate reaction went to Albright, because Albright is basically the closest thing that I have to a son. So, yeah, I wouldn't trust him with my kid, because I feel like my kid would be absolutely petrified of him. I would absolutely trust him with my kid. But if I had to give like my newborn baby, like, hey, I need you to spend a day with this person so not get petrified, Alexia all day.
Who do you think would give you the best run for your money in a fight out of all those people?
Now, out of the entire crew?
Let's do the entire crew, yeah.
Tid.
Okay.
I think Tid. I would say Tid, just because I already know. Like I've sparred plenty of times with Tid. Like I know what he's a badass motherfucker, that notorious TID. You know, that here's the thing. Like, we've got a very, very solid crew of guys that can go. And I that's almost a weird question to answer, because it's just like I know that we've got a good crew, but I'm gonna say Tid. I'm gonna say Tid. But I also think that having said that, I think that if our crew was ever in a situation, actually, okay, I got 2 answers now. Because I'm going to use Tid, because Tid's our like our core guy. But if I had to pick somebody outside, like on like our outside group that are part timers, actually technically 3, Jake Something and Madman Fulton.
Good answers. Those are great answers. I can't argue with those at all.
Because goddamn, Jake Something. Why Jake Something is not the fucking heavyweight champion of all of wrestling?
Jeez,
pisses me off.
Yeah, I feel that.
This isn't a shot at Impact, but when you have the manliest, most talented, like just nicest, fucking scariest looking individual like in all of wrestling right now, like one of the most like complete packages in wrestling.
Top 5 for sure.
Make him Cody Deaner's cousin? It was a weigh-in, and I love Cody.
Yeah.
But the reality is that if we're looking long-term, one of these guys is a world champion and, like, has money all fucking over him. And it's not a shot that they made him as Cody's cousin, but, like, the fuck you doing putting him in that little Big Brother house thing? Like, this guy should be fucking, like, he should be working Eddie Edwards. Like, he should be wrestling Madman Fulton. Like, he should be wrestling Eric Young. Like, he should be in the main event picture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's something. But I just got so much goddamn love for that man, and Madman Fulton too. Like, Madman Fulton's like one of my best buddies, and I know damn well that that's a dude that you not want to fuck with.
Glad to have him on your side, huh? Glad to have him on your side.
We got a good team. Like I said, like that's kind of what I was going with, like where I was kind of before I realized that I had to include Jake and both. I had to include my two Jakes. But we've got a crew that, like, if we had to, like, say, take locker rooms and have like locker room fights, I wouldn't change a goddamn thing. Like, I'm pretty confident our locker room does pretty well in the game of locker room fights, and you know,
I think so too.
Yourself included. I put you in there where it's just like our crew of guys is I'm happy with it. Very happy.
I'd be there with y'all.
And fucking right you would be. I know you would be, because like we've got to take care of one another, because one of these days, god damn it, that border is going to be open again, and we're going for motherfucking lunch at Wegmans, my dude.
Facts.
That's a date, and we're fucking doing it. A big old brother mandate.
Period.
Fuck yeah. So to wrap the show up, we're wrapping this bitch up on We start with Wegmans. We fucking end this shit with Wegmans, bad boy. Now, got to give everybody the heads up that you can find the show on Twitter and Instagram, on our podcast, at Big Ben AF Podcast, rather, on Twitter and Instagram. You can find us as well on Facebook if you Big Ben and Friends Podcast. Please go and follow all of those. You can find us on YouTube now by searching. You don't have to fucking actually look in the name box anymore, baby, because thanks to you guys watching and listening, we finally hit our 100 subscriber mark. We actually have a YouTube channel name.
It's not
a youtube.com/CB fucking ARQ fucking none of that shit no more. youtube.com/Big Ben AF Podcast. They allowed me to keep the entire branding because they gave me some other bullshit name too. But go check all the past episodes out, because I'm putting a lot of everything I got into these, you know, and I think that the past 10 episodes have been really fucking sweet, and a real array of conversations, including Madman Fulton, for example, and RJ City. So go back and watch those. You can also find the audio versions of these shows on Anchor, which distributes my show to Spotify and iTunes. So the reality is, please go to Spotify, because that's where I want my numbers to get fucking jacked up, because that's where Joe Rogan is going to be, and I want to get big on the Joe Rogan Podcast Network. So help a brother out. You can find me personally on all my social medias at Big Ben is Angry. You can find Crossbody Pro Wrestling and the Crossbody Pro Wrestling Academy all at one social media at CBPW Academy. And you can also subscribe to the CBPW YouTube page at youtube.com/Crossbody Pro Wrestling Academy, where you're going to find all of our showcase series shows that we have done from 1 till, I believe, 33, I think, before COVID decided to fuck us. And the first 2.5 years of Crossbody Pro Wrestling, you'll be able to find in episodes there. And you can also find us on independentwrestling.tv. You can use the code Crossbody to get 5 free days, and you can go check out such matches as Daniel Garcia versus Mark Wheeler, and an absolute fucking banger he had with Gabriel Fuerza on by far the best show that our company has ever done, Family Feud 4. Go watch that whole fucking show. And last but not least, you can support Crossbody Pro Wrestling and all of our amazing wrestlers and our staff by heading to prowrestlingtees.com/Crossbody Pro Wrestling, where all of the proceeds of these shirt sales get split between the wrestler, and our incredibly hardworking production staff. Me as the company, I take zero of that. We also have these other shirts, these Black Lives Matter shirts, the Madman Fulton shirt, the Justin Sane shirt. We are going to continue to donate 100% of the proceeds of all of these shirts that do get sold to blacklivesmatter.ca, which is a group that Justin Sane, Shogun, and Blake 182 all came together and decided that's where they wanted to allocate these funds, because let's be real, that's not my lane. They wanted to make sure that that stuff went to where they felt that it deserved, and that's where it's going to continue to go. We raised $260 for them last month, and we're hoping that we can continue to build, and we'll continue to donate on a monthly basis. So please go buy those shirts. Where can we find you on all of your social media, sir?
I condense my social media, so I'm available on Twitter and Instagram at Garcia Wrestling.
Perfect.
Real clean, real easy to find. Hit me.
Hell yeah. And do hit him. Go follow him. And again, if you've got any advice that you would like, or any tips that you want to get, or any questions that you have regards to just getting started, even diet tips, hit up Daniel Garcia. Bitcoin. Hit him up. Hit me up. Let's talk. We want to fucking help you out. You know what I'm saying? Brother, thank you so much for coming on and doing this episode. This has been a real fun time getting to chat with you and getting to know you a lot better. I appreciate everybody who's tuned in to watch this, and thank you very much, everybody. We will see you all next episode.
Yes, sir.